I think there's a lot to take out of your speech. Thank you very much, whether it is to do with the business continuity plan or the social dialogue. I know from the ILO point of view, you need to look after all of these, the three parties, the government, the labor union, and the chamber of commerce or the business owners. You have tackled so many issues, and I'm sure that will make good ground for the discussion later on during the question and answer. But without any further ado, thank you very much. And we go to our next speaker because of the time. We have Dr. Noor Couscous from New Zealand. And I understand now it is 10 o'clock in New Zealand or 11 o'clock?
No, it's midnight.
It's midnight.
It's 11:56, but that's all right.
So it's good that we are catching you before the midnight, Dr. Chris.
Yes, because I think I turn into a pumpkin soon.
So without any further ado, please allow me to welcome Dr. Noor Couscous from New Zealand to have her speech. Please go ahead and try as much as you can to have it within 10 minutes, please, because of the time constraint. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My talk follows really clearly on from that of Ranya's. So I was really pleased to hear her mentioning about leveraging on the environmental aspect, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. The role of SMEs as adaptable and flexible are well placed to look at this particular aspect. And in New Zealand, we talked initially about elimination strategy. So we're talking about a clean, green and COVID-free. But of course, that's not happening now. So we're just going to talk about being safe. So there's some challenges that have already been mentioned in terms of the pandemic. In New Zealand, we're very dependent on imports, as well as being an export economy. So shortages of certain types of food, medical supplies, and some domestic supplies, mainly from areas like China. People start to think, well, have we made a mistake here? Should we have stayed with a more subsidy type of self-sufficient economy that we used to have? And then also we got some challenges from the United Nations telling us, look, we're really worried about the progress that you've been making towards a sustainable development, and you know that COVID's going to upset all these things. So we started to be really worried about the fact that New Zealand, you know, down under there, and the rest of the world as well, was exceeding, you know, we were taking more than the earth could replenish. We're exceeding the biocapacity, in other words. There's a huge pressure to restart the economy, and therefore we decided as a nation that we needed to consider sustainable solutions, and that's what I want to focus about today, the way forward. We've been trying to align our long-term planning, recovery planning, with green environment-based economic projects. That's on an individual level, business level, and as other people have mentioned, we're the same. 97% of our economy is reliant on SMEs, so that's what we're talking about there. But also an alignment between the national priorities and sustainable development. And I've put some definitions there for you of what I mean by that, which due to the time I won't go into. This was our Sustainable Development Progress Report. At the time of COVID, we were getting good results in affordable and clean energy. We're on track for things like industry innovation, infrastructure and gender equality, which Rania also mentioned. But we had a lot of work to do in terms of being an agriculture economy. We produce a lot of methane gas. So, you know, these are some issues. You know, how do you have an agriculture economy and stop some of those issues? There weren't issues of vehicle pollution, although that's a contributing factor. And when we had COVID, it was really interesting to notice, we could see that some of the things that we'd been working on miraculously improved. So it gave us hope that this was something that we could work on and would help us. So before COVID, at the point of COVID, we'd just done an audit and worked out what our high priority themes should be anyway. They're looking at some of our very unique animals and plants that were under threat, and how we might care for those, how we look at the land, as I was just saying, about the degradation of things like soil and water, eutrophication with fertilizer flowing into streams and things like that. Some of the issues in terms of pollution, which, as I say, improved during the lockdown, and making sure that our oceans are also being kept clean. So during the lockdowns, we all had to self-isolate. So people bought bicycles. People got out their old bicycles in the shed. Because we were allowed to exercise once a day. But there was at the same time a drought. So it really hit home in Auckland in particular. They were short of water. So we really started to see the impact of what, with very little effort, we could actually, what we could do. So lockdown was, if you like, nature's reprieve. And we were stunned by how quickly, within a few weeks, everything started to get better. Therefore, the government said, well, okay, let's have a rebuild package that's going to be based on the environment. And there's the figures there. You can see the substantive investment in biosecurity, weed and pest control, regional environmental projects, Jobs for Nature Fund, and so on. And you might think, well, what's it got to do with SMEs? This table, which I can circulate this to people to have a look at later if you would be interested, talked a lot about public-private partnerships. And you can see there that the opportunities for SMEs are really in those. So although the government put the funding up, it was the small local community, local communities and their local businesses, so small businesses, that actually got together to come up with, well, how were they going to control the pests, or whatever it was. That was small companies, sometimes one person even, that would be involved in that. So what's the way forward on this? Recycling, reusing things, reducing waste, becoming more productive, and looking at the way we're using energy. And then on an individual level, which also affects businesses, as I say, people were starting to get on their bicycles and walking more. And then at the government level, there are some, clean technology-based industries that are helpful. So here's a summary page that shows just some of the different initiatives that have been used. So I hope I've managed to make your 10-minute target. Thank you.
Hassan, we can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry, it was on a mute. Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Noor. This is really wonderful presentation as usual, and a lot of thoughts. And in fact, today only, in the morning or yesterday, I was reading in the newspaper that in New Zealand, the electricity doesn't need wires now. Electricity can be on Wi-Fi. So no more electricity wires or cables underground.
So that's a Tesla, isn't it? Yeah, Tesla idea, yeah.
So that is related to the clean technology, as you just explained, and wonderful to know about the recycling and the waste management as opportunities, as business opportunities for the SMEs, and as well as the challenges and the PPP, the public-private partnership. A lot, I think we can have discussion, and thank you for aligning with the time. And without any further ado, we go to our third and last speaker, Mr. Simon Harrison, my friend, my brother. Mr. Simon was the president of the Australia Bahrain Business Council. He's at Australia, but also at our heart in Bahrain, and he's half Australian and Bahraini as well.
I think so.
So without any further ado, please welcome Mr. Simon Harrison on board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And can you hear me okay, Abdul Hassan?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we do.
Okay, thank you. And I'll keep mine relatively short because of the time, and it's an absolute pleasure to be with you, Mr. Chair, Your Excellencies, and my very good friends. Abdul Hassan, thank you so much for hosting this and for being such an active person in this early stages of UNISMO. I think we've aged you 10 years over the past few weeks because we've had such a lot to do, I believe. I'm speaking from Australia, and it's customary here to recognise the land upon which I'm calling from. Australia was comprised of 500 Aboriginal nations, and this land I'm on now is a land that was cared for by the Turrbal people, and I recognise their contribution to us. As the chair noted in his opening address, COVID-19 has been a major shock to global systems, and it's quite significant today that we register just over 1 million deaths across the globe, and something that we never envisaged 12 months ago. His Excellency and my colleagues in UNISMO would agree, however, that we need to guard against not indulging ourselves in negative commercial consequences of 2020 and therefore be overwhelmed by them. I think 2020 really has brought a dead calm to commerce, but inshallah we're going to learn from its lessons. I also think that dead calm has probably given us time to consider how we reshape our global commercial interactions, partnerships and friendships going forward. And these concepts of new ideas, new energy, new relationships is really what UNISMO is all about. We need to be brave about the future, not hide from it. We can't allow it to control us. And as the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, said, be afraid of nothing but sin. And I think that really should be our way forward, that there's nothing that we can't now deal with as a global community. And we've used that term global community over many years when we looked at global financial crisis and all the rest. I think we began to understand what a global community meant during that crisis, but I certainly believe that COVID has brought this home to all of us. This year, we established the Australia-Bahrain Business Council, which is the first business council established between these two great nations in 40 years of friendship. We have great support from the corporate sector and the Australian government, and already, even without major publicity, we're now one of the largest business councils in 12 months in Australia. It's often forgotten that the third language in Australia is Arabic, and we have a huge Arabic engaged, positive community here leading the way for many of our SME groups. In terms of SMEs in Australia, we have something in the region of 3 million SME companies across this nation of 25 million people. That entrepreneurial spirit is something that's driven the creation and development of this nation and is the bedrock of what we do here. It's also interesting in having these conversations with my colleagues around the world, both through UNISMO and through my own client contacts and other stakeholders, that as nations, we're all moving through these various phases of COVID. I think we really have three phases. The first one, I think, that began for all of us between March and probably April of this year was the initial support, the financial support and the simple survival of our SMEs was a great focus. This quarter, I'm noting that we're really moving more towards the mentoring and preparation for the post-COVID world. And my friend from the ILO, who spoke so passionately about this, was quite right in that resilience planning is something that I and others are operating in every day in terms of workshops across Australia and overseas, preparing ourselves really for what should be in not the Aldous Huxley term of Brave New World, but a real Brave New World, one that we really find some serious friendships and partnerships, and we collaborate together. I think the first quarter of next year, certainly from Australia's perspective, is one that's actively been spoken about as a trade activation period as we lead into building these relationships where we perhaps hadn't developed them fully before. Certainly from Australia, we very much had an all eggs in one China basket mentality, which was understandable for quite some time. But because of geopolitics and also because of a range of other things at play regionally, we're understanding in Australia now that we really need to move away from that situation. We will continue, of course, to engage heavily with China, but we're pivoting. And the pivot at the moment is really towards the Middle East and towards Latin America. In particular, my push here is for Bahrain as being the entry point for that whole region, but also in terms of developing those commercial relationships with Bahrain as well. We find certainly with the Middle East region in very large part, the level of transparency and ease of doing business and that entrepreneurial spirit is very much echoed or mirrored here in Australia. And I think the good thing about the way that Australians approach these matters is that we come at them from a non-lecturing perspective. Australians have had to be collaborative by nature and are collaborative in terms of international commerce. We also live in an environment here, arid, semi-arid environment, where we've had to focus on infrastructure, food security, health and vocational training, which has much to offer global collaborations and engagements as we move through this dead calm period. There are a range of projects that we're looking to build now with Bahrain and other friends around the world. I'm pleased to see that we're now towards the end of finally negotiating signing of MOUs with EDB, with the SME Association, watch this space for that, and hopefully with the BCCI. In summing up, and again conscious of time, I would encourage everybody on this call, on this fantastic conference, the first of many, to be positive about the future. We've learned of our interdependence more than ever. We've learned the communality of approaches to this global shock. Zoom is now a way of life. I find when I'm sleeping, I'm even Zooming. It's got to that extent. But it's a great thing that we're achieving. You know, we're realizing that we are one global community, that the way that we've approached the protection of our SME sectors in each nation, as disparate as Mexico to Bahrain to Australia to New Zealand, is very much a uniform approach. And we're all reaching out to help each other through this period. And there's nothing more enlightening than seeing that spirit. We can't think that COVID was ever a good thing that's happened to the globe, but we can take a lot of positive things from this in the way that we move forward. And we all need to safeguard the fact that we don't step back into that isolatory or regional approach that we all had to a large extent before COVID. We're one community, we're in this together, and I'm hopeful that that will then shape the way that our supply chains, our commercial activity, and our global regulatory systems as a lawyer operate and facilitate this. And I'm very grateful for the energy shown by my colleagues in UNISMO as we build this fantastic vehicle for change and promise. Thank you, Abdul-Sam.
Thank you very much, Simon. And of course, Simon is one of the founding members of the UNISMO, and his great efforts are very much appreciated. Thank you very much, Simon. And it's great to hear from you such information about Australia and about the business opportunities, and that COVID-19, I think, is a challenge to help us and or to push us to discover new opportunities. And I think the world has become smaller and smaller. We used to say that the world has become a village. I think during the COVID-19, we discovered that the world is even smaller than a village, that we now, for example, in Bahrain, we are talking to our colleagues and friends in Australia. I think the time over there now is 9 or past 9?
Just past 9. Just past 9.
Just past 9. While in New Zealand, it's just past 11. So
My neighbours in New Zealand are ready for bed. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's 12:16 a.m. here.
Oh, so it's past the midnight now. So we are in New Zealand, it's a new day, while in United States, they're just starting the day. So the world has really become a very small village that we are all neighbors online. So I think that really sets the ground. All your speeches, the 3 speeches, set the ground for the discussion. The next session, the last session of the question and answer before the going to the closing remarks from His Excellency, we have a 10 minutes question and answer for discussion for our participants. So please go ahead, and 10 minutes we have. So let me see if there is anything on the chat or the question and answer. This is from Eagle Mind Consultancies, Dr. Eileen Valan, Ghana. Hello, Dr. Chris. We are so enlightened for your presentation. This will be most important to progress the SMEs endeavors. Thank you very much, Dr. Eileen. And this is the comment. We also had another comment. Let me see the question. That's all.
If I could just note, while you're looking for those, Abdul Hassan, I have actually got a full paper here with more specifics of the different jobs. For example, I showed a picture of like light rail, some of the setting up of a national cycle track and so on. There is a paper with the contacts for the relevant ministries if anybody is interested in following up those particular those particular aspects with that environmental focus. I can send that to anybody if you would like it, but because of the time, obviously we're just rushing through and giving you a brief overview of the points.
Yeah, I must say thank you, Dr. Noor. She requested 20 minutes for the presentation, and I had to tell her that, sorry, you have to quiz it to 10 minutes only. So thank you very much for abiding by the time, and by all means, the presentation can be, communicated to whoever wants.
Well, there's a paper anyway. It's got active links on it, so if people want to follow up, but these are real business opportunities. So if people want to follow them up, they're more than welcome.
Sure, by all means. I have this comment or question, I don't know, from Azra Kolik in Bosnia. Regards from Bosnia. Thank you for interesting global meeting. I'd like to get presentation from Dr. Chris, from Dr. Kurtz. Yes, I think done, Azra. You will get it. We will send it to you by email, inshallah. We also have a question, I think, from Mr. Abdul Rahim. Mr. Abdul Rahim Fakhro, please.
Thank you, Dr. Abdul Hassan, for gathering and leading with His Excellency Dr. Abdul Nabi Sha'la. I would like, first of all, to thank the Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Tourism for contribution and commitment toward establishment of UNISMO, which is United International SMEs Organization, from the beginning. And also, I would like to thank the Chamber of Commerce and Industry under the leadership of Mr. Samir Nas for his leadership and commitment toward to have us in Bahrain, and definitely to all the organizers from all over the world, and especially Dr. Noor. She is a value added to this gathering. And definitely today we've been impressed by the speaker from Philippines who showed and shared information which we would like to take them as a benchmark for our work for the future. With no more to say, Miss Dosari and Miss Al-Fadl, they also shared us, which they also from Bahrain, they show that they have commitment, they are ready, they are waiting to see this UNISMO in real function. Thank you, Dr. Abdul Hassan.
And not Abdul Rahim, thank you very much, but also not to forget, of course, Mr. Simon from Australia.
Because you did the job for me, for Simon.
Yes, as well as Miss
Yes.
Rani as well.
Oh, yes, yeah, I said the speakers. I mentioned them definitely.
Thank
With
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, my
you.
friend. Yes, I think there's another comment from Dr. Lulwa. Thanks to all speakers for the valuable thoughts and being optimistic about future and SMEs development. I want to add that Tamkeen has funded a mentorship program and graduated some mentors, but business owners and entrepreneurs are still not fully utilizing such services. I believe it is our responsibility as UNISMO to adopt the 3 M's and especially mentorship. Fully agree with you, Dr. Lulwa, and with the what's mentioned by the speakers, all the speakers. I think this will add also to our work. Ladies and gentlemen, my colleagues in the UNISMO board, this is also to add to our mission and objectives and tasks to be done. I think we have also Dr. Ellen online for a question.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dr. Ellen.
Yes, good afternoon, and would like to thank really the organizers for this. And it really enlightened our minds from the speakers, of course, Dr. Chris, from our His Excellency, Mr. Joey from Philippines. We're so enlightened, and all other speakers, and all have the same spirit to help SMEs. Now, aligning with mentorship, I agree with Dr. Lulwa saying that yes, we have mentorship already in Bahrain because I opened my business in Bahrain and I'm into mentorship and coaching. I agree with you totally that there is a mentorship and coaching, but this is my experience, which I would like to share to others, that in mentorship, I think the mentors will also have their own hands-on business so that they can relay what they have experienced to their mentees. And this is what I am I'm doing now as in my consultancy, that I'm mentoring the SMEs in their growth, in their business continuity, because we all discuss about business continuity, but they don't fully understand what is within business continuity to be integrated in business plan. We teach them how to do business plan, but yes, we miss a little part of it, which is we just discussed about risk management, but this time is a business continuity plan. So I hope through the leadership of SME Society, which I was a member since 2006, I think, we will have to go on with this, and really we need to document our performance. If whom have we mentored and have grown up. So I would encourage everyone, UNISMO, all Ministry of Commerce, Chamber of Commerce, and the rest, which is the ecosystem of entrepreneurs and SMEs. And we would like to help you and would like to share you what Mr. Joey have shared you, and it was really great. I'm following the Mentor Me every Saturday, and it was great how they inspired the entrepreneurs, especially this this COVID times. We call it challenging times. Thank you so much.
Thank
Back
you
to
very
you.
much, Dr. Eileen. And of course, thanks a lot for your support and coordination with the Office of His Excellency Joy Conception to make him on board with us. That's really great. And this is a witness of the business community in Bahrain and the Filipinos business community in special, and their role in Bahrain and the economy of Bahrain. So I think with that, we come to the end of our session. And finally, without any further ado, I think it's to go to His Excellency Mr. Abdel Al-Sha'la, the chairman of the United International SMEs organizations, to have the closing remarks before we get to the end and close the session or the seminar today. Your Excellency, stage is yours.
Thank you very much indeed, and thanks for managing the event professionally. I'm really delighted, and I'm sure all the members of the UNISMO are also equally delighted to see that our first seminar has been extremely successful and extremely timely and relevant. And also, in particular, we can see the spirit of optimism, as Simon also mentioned it in his speech, and that's where we should really promote among ourselves. There is no reason for despair. I like the slogan or the term now, which is being promoted, that while we see globalization is fading away for one reason or the other, the coronavirus has brought the concept of a global citizenship now among us. You know, we feel that we are citizens of the globe. We feel that the pain that the people in New Zealand or in India or in South America or somebody speaking.
Excuse me, I think, can you all please put your, hello, can you mute your microphone, please, except His Excellency Chairman?
Okay, as I'll continue, as I said, the pain that is felt in the Philippines or in New Zealand or in Europe, anywhere, is felt the same way in every part of the world. That puts on our shoulder a lot of responsibilities that we have to work together to confront the new challenges and the new realities that was brought up by this virus in a positive way. I think the speakers have contributed, each one of them, to develop among us an agenda or a roadmap to see how we can, in the UNISMO, able to contribute towards that objectives. You know, I think Dr. Ms. Rania Bighazi, which I haven't seen her for a long time, and it's good to see her here. We worked briefly, I believe, at one stage through the Ministry of Labor here in Bahrain, has brought to us a number of ideas that we should really explore. So also Dr. Faisal Abdul Qadir, his interaction and his contribution is extremely positive. I think we should become the platform to revive and to embrace the programs that have been initiated already by the United Nations, and we should work closely with the United Nations in reviving those programs and initiatives related to capacity building and microfinancing programs. And I'm sure that Dr. Faisal will always be available to support us. In conclusion, I think this has been extremely successful exercise and extremely positive. And we're looking forward to the second edition of the same, which will be the West Globe edition. This was the East Globe edition. We'll look at it. I think it is on which date, Abdul Hassan?
In October, Your Excellency. Next month,
Okay.
and the dates to be confirmed later.
We will start to work on it. I think that you will have difficult time now to beat what we have achieved in this seminar. So the people who have participated, we are grateful for them. And thank you very much. I think we are very well on time, and we look forward to having more of such events in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your support and efforts, which made this a reality, without which we couldn't have this seminar going on today. So thank you very much, and thank you to all our distinguished speakers worldwide, and to all our participants worldwide as well. And as His Excellency just mentioned, we're looking forward to meet with you again next month in October, in our next seminar of the UNISMO, the United International SME Organizations, and its West Globe edition, which would cater for and have speakers from the west part of the globe. The exact dates to be confirmed later. We just had a discussion today early morning, and it would be nearly towards the end of October, but we want to be ahead before 3rd of November, which would have the elections in the United States, as I think we're planning to have at least 2 speakers from the United States. And the next seminar, which is to cater for the West Globe, would be from Europe continent, Africa, North America, and South America. So stay tuned, and we'll let you know the exact date later on. With that, we come to the conclusion. Thank you very much for all of you for your support, and looking forward to meet again next month. Thank you and goodbye. Ma'a salam.
Thank you. Bye for all. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.